continent where the largest mammal on Earth is located and also the most populated continent on Earth. But you may know this continent because you watched Kung Fu Panda or played some samurai game. Friends, today I present to you the continent of the rising sun, Asia. Welcome to Continent Ride. The Asian continent is located on the eastern hemisphere and it's bounded on the east by the Pacific Ocean, on the south by the Indian Ocean, on the north by the Arctic Ocean, and on the west by Europe, a continent which we talked about in our previous episode. This continent is theoretically speaking the first continent that sees the sun when it rises. It's the largest continent on Earth with a total area of around 44 million square kilometers or around 16 million square miles. That's big. In fact, Asia is the biggest continent on Earth both in area and population. 4.5 billion people live in Asia. That's roughly 59.2% of all people on Earth. But more on Asian people later, and you will not regret hearing about them, believe me. Anyway, Asia is full of countries, but as for Africa we will only name some of them. The biggest countries of Asia are Russia, counting the whole Russia land, not just the Asia part, China, and India. This continent is also divided in some smaller areas. There are Southwest Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia, Middle Asia, and North Asia. Now let's depart from political stuff and let's focus on nature. Asia is a nature gold mine, from the highest mountains in the world to the colorful mountains, and some of the most stunning lakes and caves. There are also Siberian tundra, rainforest in Borneo, Kerala backwaters, Mongolian steppe. Wait. Who said Mongolia? If someone did, that reminded me of the biggest desert of this continent is located there, Gobi Desert. Thanks to Mongolian people we can visit the Great Wall in China. Maybe you wonder why. It's because the Chinese built it to defend from the Mongols. This Great Wall is one of 7 world wonders. There are also some beautiful locations for vacation like Maldives, beautiful crystal blue water, sand beaches, and many other things that bring up tourists. This continent is also called the most continent. I'm sure that you wonder why. Let me explain. On this continent you can find the highest place on the Earth, that is Mount Everest on Himalayas, the deepest place on the Earth, Mariana Trench, the lowest place on Earth, Dead Sea, the biggest lake, Caspian, the deepest lake, Baikal, and as we said the biggest by the area and by population on the Earth. So that's the reason why we call this continent the most continent. In this continent we can find almost every climate type, so we can also find almost every plant type. But the biggest natural resources of this continent are oil and natural gas, which we can mostly find in Southwest Asia. Because of climate types, this area is very good for rubber tree cultivation. Because of climate types, many animal types find home here. In the Siberian tundras live polar bears, polar foxes, polar cats, a special type of Siberian tiger, and many others which can survive cold weather. There are also live reindeers, so that's the place where Santa finds them. In taigas live bears, wolves, foxes, birds, and many other types because the climate is very favorable. In deserts live camels, and people use them for transport. In the desert there is a chance to find an oasis. If you don't know what that is, I will, like always, explain. Oases are places in the desert with enough water for animals to survive. So people who use camels are going to these places to prepare the camels for the journey. Camels can survive 8 days without water because they have tanks in their humps. Alongside camels, in Asia also live lions, zebras, monkeys, snakes, parrots, tigers, pandas and others. One more special type of tiger lives in South Asia in the place of Bengal. So because of the place where it lives, it got the nickname Bengali tiger. And we have a clouded leopard too, an interesting species that is characteristic to the Asian continent too, and it's called clouded leopard because of its markings that look like clouds. And a lot more special animal species live in Asia. However, there are some endangered species too, like the giant panda, which isn't that weird, thinking that the next generation will probably never see pandas. Well, thanks to people that rapidly cut down the natural habitat of these cute animals, that could be a reality one day. Let's get back to Asia, shall we? We said that Asia is the most populated continent in the world, with the most populated country in the world, India, with a population of 1.428 billion at the time that I am writing this. So these countries are very populated, and some of them, like China, had big problems because of that. Let me take you back to the 1970s, the years of disco and these awful bell-bottom trousers. I just don't like them at all. Well, in those years, China was struggling due to overpopulation, so the China government decided to limit families to only one child, and this was called the one-child policy. It lasted till 2016 when the mark was brought up to 2 childs, and now families in China can have up to 3 childs. Today, China is seen as an economic giant. Some studies say that China's income per capita quadrupled in the past 15 years, and it's estimated that China will surpass the United States in the next 20 years by economic standards. China isn't the only country burning from economic growth. Saudi Arabia is another country that is blowing up, thanks to that black gold. Asia has an incredible culture and history. Let me take you back to the history yet again. Samurais, you probably heard of them. Here's your chance to hear something new about these incredible warriors. These guys were, as far as I know, they don't exist today. The part Japan military formed 12th century to late 1870s, which is known as Meiji era, and these guys were not joking at all. Here's a fun fact. Samurais thought that it was dishonorable to fight with ranged weapons, and that's why they preferred swords. They thought that those who use ranged weapons are cowards, and a fun fact, and they are just one of Asia's many incredible cultures. Now the last part of this episode, as always, the quiz part. First question, is one of Asia's borders the Pacific Ocean? Second question, is the most continent Asia? And third question, do samurais still exist? I am genuinely asking you this last one, because as I said, I am not sure, so feel free to let me know in the comments. And as of now, this theme is, not now subscribe San, later go back to practice. Hey, while he is practicing, you could surprise him with an attack down there. As I was saying, this theme is over till next week. See ya.